The air hangs thick with the scent of pine and fermenting earth, a stillness broken only by the whisper of wind through Cretaceous ferns. It is a world of immense life, yet the silence here is one of profound tension, a held breath stretching for an eternity. This is the paradox of creation. For new life to begin, a parent must stand as a monument against a world that wishes only to reclaim it. Let us now turn the stone pages of this chronicle and bear witness to their struggle. She is a veteran, a bastion of flesh and bone forged over decades of survival. We see her not as a species, but as an individual etched with the brutal calligraphy of her time. The fossil record may one day show her as a collection of healed fractures and gouges, but for now, she is a living testament. One brow horn is blunted, worn down from 1,000 territorial disputes and desperate defenses. Her great frill, a shield of solid bone, bears a network of ancient scars, the faint white geography of a life lived on the edge. This lone Triceratops matriarch, her lineage stretching back to the first of her kind, has chosen this small clearing to gamble on the future. Beneath her immense weight, nestled in a carefully excavated mound of soil and rotting vegetation, lies her legacy. A clutch of 16 leathery eggs. They are a promise, warmed by the slow heat of decay. For this promise, she has become a fortress. Her 4-ton body is a wall, her head a turret armed with spears of keratin-sheathed bone. She does not move, save for the slow, rhythmic heave of her sides and the constant, swiveling motion of her head, tracking the threats that have already begun to gather. They are shadows in the undergrowth, ghosts of lethal intent. First one, then two, then a quartet of Dakotaraptors materializes at the edge of the clearing. They are not the hulking tyrants of this world, but something far more insidious. Patient, intelligent pack hunters. Their sickle claws remain sheathed, their feathered bodies lean and tense. They do not rush. They watch, they learn, they wait for the moment when vigilance gives way to exhaustion. One raptor, older than the rest, takes 3 probing steps into the open, its head cocked, its unblinking yellow eye fixed on the prize. A low rumble emanates from the matriarch's chest, a sound that is less a warning than a physical statement of fact. This ground is mine. She shifts her weight onto her forelimbs, lowering her head until the 6-foot span of her horns is level with the intruder. There is no wasted motion, no theatrical roar. This is the cold calculus of survival. The energy she expends must be measured against the long, sun-beaten hours and cold, star-dusted nights that lie ahead. The raptor, having tested the perimeter and found it absolute, melts back into the ferns. The sun begins its descent, painting the sky in hues of blood and amber. The siege has begun. When we analyze the bone beds of this era, we find evidence of these tense dramas everywhere, in the tooth marks on herbivore bones, and in the trampled earth around nesting sites. The evidence suggests a constant war of attrition. For this mother, The enemy is not just the claw and tooth of the circling predators. It is thirst. It is hunger. It is the slow, grinding fatigue that will inevitably settle into her bones. The raptors know this. And so they wait. A patient, feathered jury, ready to deliver their verdict on her strength. Night falls not as a blanket, but as a shroud. The Cretaceous moon offers little comfort, its pale light catching only the edges of the matriarch's horns and the wicked gleam in the eyes of the watchers. Through the long, cold hours, she stands her ground, a statue of maternal defiance. Every snap of a twig, every rustle of a leaf is a potential attack. Sleep does not come. There is only a state of low, simmering awareness, a conservation of consciousness as much as energy. When dawn breaks on the second day, it illuminates a scene unchanged. The fortress stands. The siege continues. But the world is indifferent to valor. By the third sunrise, the biological realities of her massive frame have become a more pressing enemy than the raptors. Thirst is a fire in her throat. Hunger is a hollow ache that weakens her resolve. The powerful muscles that hold her head aloft begin to tremble with fatigue. We can read this story in the fossil record. Isotopic analysis of Triceratops enamel reveals a diet that required constant grazing. An animal of her size, nearly 10 meters of bone and muscle, was a furnace that demanded hundreds of pounds of fibrous plant matter each day. To stand vigil was to starve. She knows this. The instinct to protect is warring with the instinct to survive, the two inextricably linked. The cycads at the far edge of the clearing, their fronds rich with moisture and calories, are a temptation that has become a necessity. She surveys the scene one last time, her gaze lingering on the nest mound. Perhaps in the deep, primal architecture of her brain, she is calculating the seconds it will take for the raptors to cross the open ground. It is a desperate equation. With a deep, groaning exhalation, she makes her choice. She turns. The movement is an earthquake, a sudden, shocking commitment. For a terrifying span of seconds, her back is to the nest as she moves with ponderous speed toward the vegetation. This is the signal. The Dakotaraptors explode from their cover. They are a fluid, coordinated unit, a testament to the evolutionary power of the pack. They do not waste energy challenging the mother directly. Their objective is the exposed treasure she has left behind. Two dart to the left, a feint to draw her eye, while the other two, the larger alphas, take a wide, silent arc to the right, their sickle claws tapping lightly on the hardened earth as they close in on the nest. The matriarch does not have time to graze. She rips a massive cycad frond from its base, her powerful beak shearing through the thick stalk. She swallows the tough fibers almost whole, her attention divided, her senses stretched to their breaking point. She can hear the scuttling sounds of the pack. She can smell their scent on the air. She is a guardian tethered by a thread, and that thread is stretching thin. A high-pitched shriek from one of the decoy raptors. A signal of position. Is their undoing. The matriarch's head snaps up. She abandons the half-eaten meal. The life-giving water within it forgotten. A guttural roar tears from her throat. A sound of pure, unadulterated rage. She charges. The ground shudders under the impact of her footfalls. This is not the measured, defensive posture of the vigil, but a kinetic weapon of 9,000 kilograms launched with singular purpose. The earth itself seems to flee before her. The two alphas are mere feet from the nest when the world erupts behind them. They abort their attack instantly, scattering like dry leaves in a hurricane. They are fast, but speed is no defense against this kind of momentum. They flow back into the safety of the dense forest, leaving the matriarch to skid to a halt before her clutch. Her breath comes in ragged, dusty heaves. Her sides are slick with sweat. She has won the engagement, but the raptors have won the strategic victory. They have confirmed her weakness. They now know, with absolute certainty, that she cannot guard and provide at the same time. The siege has entered a new, more lethal phase. The cycle repeats itself over another day, another night. Each foray for food is shorter, more frantic. Each return finds the raptors closer, bolder. She grows weaker, her movements slower, her defensive perimeter shrinking with her fading strength. And then, a new sound joins the tense silence of the clearing. It is not the whisper of the wind or the call of a predator. It is a faint tapping, a delicate, rhythmic vibration felt more than heard, coming from deep within one of the eggs. The fragile legacy is stirring, impatient for a world that is poised to devour it. The sound is the harbinger of a new and more desperate reality. The tapping from within the eggs grows insistent, then is joined by another and another. The matriarch answers with a low, guttural moan. It is not a sound of welcome, but of pure anxiety. She knows that the passive defense of her fortress is over. The moment the first leathery shell cracks open, her sacred ground will become a nursery, and a nursery is a beacon to the hungry. A small, wet beak pierces the first eggshell. A tiny, clumsy creature struggles into the light, a perfect miniature of its mother, covered in a film of embryonic fluid. Its first bewildered chirps are catastrophically loud in the tense air. Soon, 5 more have hatched, stumbling around their mother's feet, their instincts screaming for food and warmth, utterly oblivious to the mortal danger that encircles them. Their calls are a siren song for the patient killers in the trees. The raptors no longer wait. Drawn by the scent of earth and the sounds of new life, they launch their final, coordinated assault. They emerge from all sides at once, a feathered tide of intelligent fury. The matriarch is now a mobile fortress, and she is terrifyingly outmaneuvered. She pivots, her great horns sweeping in a deadly arc that pulps the earth. She connects with one raptor, a blur of motion met with irresistible force. There is a wet, percussive crack as the predator is thrown, broken and lifeless, against a rock. But for every enemy she faces, another slips past her flank. The chaos is absolute. It is a storm of snapping jaws, slashing claws, and the desperate, piercing cries of the young. A raptor lunges, not at the mother, but at a hatchling that has strayed too near the edge of her protection. The cry is cut short. The matriarch bellows in a sound that is pure rage and anguish, but she cannot turn back without exposing the others. Another hatchling is taken from the other side. She is a goddess of destruction, but even she cannot stop the flood. The alpha raptor, seeing the mother's attention divided, commits to the ultimate gamble. It leaps, not for a hatchling, but for the mother herself, landing high on her flank. Its terrible sickle claw, a weapon evolved to disembowel, plunges deep into her side. A lesser creature would collapse, but the matriarch is a vessel of pure parental instinct. She seems not to register the pain. In one final, convulsive movement, she twists her entire 9,000-kilogram body, slamming the alpha against the unyielding trunk of a petrified tree. The raptor's spine shatters with an audible snap. The surviving predators, their leader dead and their nerve broken by this final, impossible act of defiance, melt back into the shadows. Silence descends upon the clearing. The matriarch stands for a moment, swaying. Then, with a long, shuddering sigh, her legs buckle. She collapses in a heap, her great body forming a final, protective rampart around the churned earth of her nest. Her breathing is a shallow whisper. From beneath the broad leaf of a fern, where it was shielded from the battle's fury, a single hatchling emerges. It looks upon the scene of carnage with nascent eyes. It toddles forward, nudging the still, warm mountain of its mother's flesh. It lets out a small, questioning chirp. There is no reply. It is the sole inheritor of her sacrifice, a fragile legacy in a world that offers no guarantees. The stone record rarely preserves such moments. It gives us the bones of the victor and the vanquished, the predator and the prey, but it does not preserve the
stone record
ferocious
gives us
will
the
that
bones
moved
of the
them.
victor and the vanquished.
This is the silent truth of deep time. That the instinct to give life is a force as powerful and as violent as any asteroid, shaping the course of evolution in small, desperate, and heroic acts of sacrifice.